How many times have you as a JoJo fan been looking at some of the many stands in the series and asked yourself, how effective would this be when it comes to making my pearl volcano erupt? Me personally, I know that I've asked myself that question on multiple occasions. In a series full of so many niche abilities, which would best serve me when it comes to the old hand to gland action? Hey, don't judge me, you're the one who clicked on this video. As we all know, there are only 24 hours in a day, and one thing that you can never get back is your time. We live in a world where you have to work to survive. Not only that, but you also need to maintain your interpersonal relationships, and for a lot of people, they don't even have an hour of alone time in a single day. How are you supposed to get those lengthy sessions in while also optimizing your life schedule? Enter the world. The world has the ability to stop time for up to 5 seconds, meaning that you could easily cut down on the time it would take to get a session in. And although this may technically shorten your session, therefore making it less impressive, as a functioning member of society, everyone will have times where they have things to do. And what happens if before one of those times you need to quickly get a goon on? Family dinner in 20 minutes? No problem. At work and you need to quickly get one in before your next meeting? Light work. There is no limit on the amount of times that Dio can use this ability, and there is seemingly no definite answer on the cooldown, as we have seen Dio absolutely spam this ability. So taking that logic, you could easily cut a 4-hour session down to under an hour. And on top of that, everybody knows that the biggest nerf to gooning comes in the risk of being caught. Unless you live alone, there is always a chance that someone may just walk in on you during your marathon. However, with the world, the second you are about to get caught, you can activate that ability and get your pants back on in a flash. Long gone are the days of telling your parents or roommates that you deleted the virus, because with this ability, a whole new world of possibilities has opened up. While talking about a topic such as this one, it's extremely important to be inclusive. Everybody is into different things, and what you might find odd might be somebody else's cup of tea. You may love wine, while somebody else might find it disgusting. Feet. I'm talking about feet. In a world full of fetishes, the most popular one would far and away be feet, and that is exactly where Highway Star comes into play. Highway Star has the ability to segment his body into many pieces, breaking apart into flat pieces that are, well, shaped like feet. Those pieces then chase their target endlessly until they catch them and start to steal their nutrients. However, the feet themselves don't necessarily need to steal your nutrients if the user doesn't want them to, although some people might be into that, I'm not gonna shame them. So for all you freerun fans and feet lovers out there, you could easily be covered in feet while you're trying to get the job done with just the simple snap of a finger, which is why this stand makes the list. If I'm being honest, this stand is a massive reason I made this video, because I wanted to make feet jokes. Anyway, moving on. Picture this. You have the manly urge to go out into the woods and just start fishing. And that's when you start to get a little tingle. You see, it's been a whole 5 hours since your last goon sesh, and you begin itching at the opportunity to get a quick one out while you're in Mother Nature. And you just happen to stumble across the tree from the summer Hikaru died. At this point in time, your rank is currently Emerald Edger, meaning that you have evolved to the point where your hands just don't get the job done anymore. And it just so happens you have none of your special tools on you. You're far away from any bit of society, and oh no, your phone is dead. What are you going to do? How are you going to goon? But with Spice Girl, this problem is no more, because Spice Girl's main ability is softening. When Spice Girl hits something with her fist, it can soften into a rubber-like consistency. Anything, rock, metal, or even trees can be turned into rubber. Rubber that cannot be punctured by a stand even as powerful as the notorious BIG, meaning that you now have access to a special tool anywhere and at any time. Not to mention, if you're lacking in the imagination department, the stand itself not only looks good, but has a personality of its own. If you were able to swoon this respectful stand, you would then become an unstoppable force of goondom, one that is no longer bound by the need for tools, because you could create them whenever and wherever you need. And I think it's safe to say that with this ability, you could easily rank up to Grand Masturbator. Coming in next, we have Killer Queen. Now, I know what you might be thinking. How can a stand whose ability completely and utterly destroys anything it touches without leaving a trace be good for gooning? And I found myself thinking the same thing, but I really wanted to figure out a way to make this one work, because look at how attractive this stand is. The stand itself will already provide plenty to look at, but that alone is not enough to get it on this list. And then I realized, I was thinking too in line. I was a sheep trapped inside of a small box that the world wanted me to think wink was completely closed. I was a fish that thought the world was confined to its small aquarium. I was a Rent-a-Girlfriend fan thinking it was the greatest piece of fiction ever made. I was a fool, because you see, Killer Queen gains a new ability called Bites the Dust. Bites the Dust will plant a mini killer into the target's body, and if Kira's identity is revealed in any way, the mini killer will blow up its target, but not just the target, also time itself. Do you see where I'm going with this? Any good goon sesh should last a long time, and if possible, never end. Now this will take a bit of prep time, but the payoff will be immense if Kira was able to set up the right set of circumstances. One where his identity would be revealed directly at the tip of the mountain, right at the edge of glory. He would then go back in time an hour, creating what would effectively be an infinite goon cycle, a cycle of infinite goonage on par with that of the golden rotation. One where you can go on as long as you want without losing any time after Bites the Dust activates, and I think we can all agree that this ability would work greatly in your favor. What is the worst part about gooning? When it comes to gooning, let's just say your arm is going to get extremely tired. And if you're doing this all the time like any real gooner, well, let's just say you're going to end up looking like Quagmire from Family Guy. And what are you going to do? Use your other arm? No, that's disgusting. And that's where the best ability in all of JoJo comes in, the spin technique. No more are the days of needing to do all that work on your own, because we now have access to the power of the golden ratio and the infinite spin technique created by Tusk Act 4. When Tusk Act 4 touches a person or an item, it will imbue said target with an infinite spinning motion, one that will never stop unless Johnny hits that person or item with equal spin in the opposite direction. The main reason this isn't higher up on the list is because you do indeed need a horse in order to gain access to the golden spin, meaning that it does take a little more prep time than you would want if you were going to start a spontaneous goon sesh. But now that you have access to the goon for as long as you want without having the issue of getting tired, this brings up a whole nother issue. Once again, you do not want to get caught. But never fear, because with Tusk Act 3, we now have access to the spatial wormhole. By shooting himself with a spin-imbued finger, Johnny is able to suck his body into the hole it creates. And by moving the hole while he is inside, he is able to reposition himself wherever he wants, meaning that you would never need to worry about someone walking in on you during your vulnerable moment. And because of the nature of these spatial wormholes only allowing the user itself inside of them, you could technically use it as an alternate dimension that is only for gooning. On top of that, anything that isn't the user themselves will be destroyed when they go into the wormhole, meaning that you would never need to clean up. Oh man, let me get this video over with. This does not feel good. What is your worst possible nightmare? Drowning? Burning alive? Never living up to your parents' expectations and your entire family disowning you because you're a worthless idiot who makes videos on which JoJo stands are the best for edging and gooning and no one will ever love you? Worse than any of those things is accidentally ending your goon sesh early. Now I know what you might be thinking, that's a rookie mistake. That's some bronze beater activities. No one worth their salt would ever make that mistake. However, in the event where you do make that mistake, it can make even the most sane person fall off the deep end. And that's where one of the MVPs of this hypothetical comes in, Crazy Diamond. Crazy Diamond has the ability to revert anything back to its original state, which effectively heals people. This stand immediately lowers the floor for entry, as even the most willy-nilly unserious beater could correct any mistakes they have made. Not to mention, if you accidentally cause any damage during that process, that is no longer a problem. Now it is worth mentioning, Josuke is not able to use Crazy Diamond on himself, and what do I say to that? When did I ever say that you had to be the one using the stand? If you could convince the stand's user to help you out in your goon endeavors, this could make even the worst of players an absolute force to be reckoned with. Is this stand kind of a crutch for beginners? And seasoned vets might not find the same joy in this ability? Yes, but that's exactly why it ranks so high. The entire goal of gooning comes in the end result, and arguably the worst part about it is that once you get to that peak, that is it, and then you have to wait in order to do it again. But what if we could bypass that limit in a similar way that we did with Killer Queen, but instead of having to go an entire hour back in time, you could just go 6 seconds into the past. That's right, we are going to be talking about Mandom. Mandom allows Ringo Rodigan to go back in time 6 seconds upon twisting his watch. Now, contrary to popular belief, which is that the watch fetish is part of his stand, it's actually only a mental activation that Ringo has placed upon himself. Meaning that theoretically, you could make the act of reaching the end of the session the activation requirement. This would allow you to achieve a near godlike status, where you can keep that goon hypnosis active for literally as long as you want. This is an ability that should only be used in the hands of the most experienced degenerates, as a mere mortal may not be able to handle the pleasure that comes with it. Now you may be thinking, what could possibly be better than this stand? I mean, it literally allows you to goon forever, but trust me, I have one. But first we need to get into some dishonorable mentions, because in the process of looking for which stands would be the best for gooning, I have also found a multitude of stands that would be horrible for it. So let's go. Emperor is a gun which allows Whole Horse to control his bullets as well as materialize the gun whenever he wants. This wouldn't be any good for getting the job done, however, after making this video, I would like to use this stand on myself. The Fool is a stand which grants its user complete control over the sand, allowing the sand to take form in any way its user wants. In theory, this could be great, however, if you're curious on why it's bad, go put some sandpaper in a can of Pringles and talk to me when you're finished. Yo-Yo Ma, although being humanoid and having a mouth, has acid saliva which melts through its target's skin. Some people might be into this, but unless you want to ruin your oh-so-special places, I'd stay away from this one. Seathan is the stand of Alessi, and if you think that this ability would be any good for gooning, please click off this video and walk yourself down to the nearest police station and turn yourself in. And finally, I have any of the transformation-based stands. JoJo has plenty of stands which allow their user to create illusions of people or transform their user to looking like whoever they want, and although this might sound like a good thing, I can't imagine any of the transformation abilities like Surface or Earth, Wind, and Fire in a way that wouldn't be extremely creepy or an invasion of privacy. But now we have made it, and it is time for the definite best stand for gooning in all of JoJo's Bizarre Adventure. Alright, before I get any allegations for putting this stand so high, let me make it extremely clear, I am indeed a Beastars fan. Gold Experience has the ability to give life to inorganic items, turning things like a suitcase into a frog or rocks into a snake. But that does not lend itself well to gooning at all, other than the fact that the stand itself does look pretty good. However, once Giorno stabs himself with the arrow and evolves his stand into Gold Experience Requiem, it becomes insanely good. Gold Experience Requiem exponentially increases the speed and power of Gold Experience, but its main ability is to nullify the actions of whoever opposes it. Now, before I get to why that is a good thing, we need to go back to the definition of gooning itself, which is a state you reach after a prolonged session. And what better way to prolong your session than to nullify the action of finishing itself? Hold up, let me cook. Much like Killer Queen in that infinite goon cycle, if you were able to set up the perfect set of circumstances, one where the user of Gold Experience Requiem does not want you to finish gooning, and you force them to use that ability on you, you would now be in an infinite cycle where you will never finish the sesh for all of eternity. One where you finishing the session will be infinitely nullified, resulting in the ultimate form of goon. One where you can never reach that finish line, never make it to the tip of that mountain, where your river will never reach the sea, your sun will never set, where your curtain will never close. You're never going to be able to come, that's what I was trying to say. It might not be ideal, but isn't that the entire point of gooning? To find the joy in the pain, the light at the end of the tunnel? With this stand, you would enter a higher realm of being, and evolve to find something that's even better than the goon itself, that is for you and only you to experience, making the person stuck in that loop the greatest of all time. This whole list has been about innovation, and I don't think any ability in the series innovates gooning the way that Gold Experience Requiem does. And that's all I have for this video. Sorry for the long break since my last post, and I'm sorry if you made it here and had to subject yourself to all the nonsense I spewed in this one. If you like this style of video as opposed to my more analytical content, let me know in the comments, but for now, that's all. Peace.